You've landed on the Moon Show. I am sitting here with Crypto Kid. I am Carl Moon. And today, what we want to talk about is the FOMC, which is going to happen today. Is that correct, Crypto Kid?
It is definitely correct, sir, in 7 hours' time, and it's going to be streamed live here on the Moon Show channel at 2200 Dubai time. We'll link it in the description down below. It's going to be a massively volatile FOMC, the most important FOMC probably of this cycle so far. And yeah, I'm excited to share my thoughts into what I think will happen. And Carl, I think that you will pitch in and tell us where you see the market going if we see a 25 basis point cut, a 50 basis point cut, etc.
Yeah, so look, I want to tie this back into to the crypto market and the altcoins because that's what people really want to know. So I think that the question for this stream should be, or this video should be, is now a great time to jump straight into altcoins and then sell in a few months based on this the FOMC and based on the interest rate cuts. So I think maybe the first question is what will happen with the FOMC and the interest rates, and how is that going to impact the global markets? And then let's talk about which altcoins you are buying now and that I am buying to take advantage of the altcoin season that I personally think will happen because of these events. So why don't you start telling us more about the interest rates and what's happening there?
Sure. So let's circle back to the interest rates now, and then I'll talk about the chart that I just had on my screen. So interest rates, 7 hours time, we're going to get the interest rate decision. There's a 96% chance that the Fed is going to cut rates by 25 basis points and only a 4% probability that they cut by 50 basis points. What does this mean, and how has historically interest rate cuts impacted the Bitcoin market? And I'm here to tell that, and I'm here to break that for you. So let's start off by talking about the probabilities and what this sort of bar chart means for everyone. The fact that we have a 25 basis point cut probability, as that's the major percentage probability, that's actually not the most amazing sign because markets, institutional capital, everybody's been expecting for at least a 25 basis point cuts by the end of 2025. So capital has been pre-positioning their investments, their sort of strategies in a way into the stock market and Bitcoin and other assets, assuming that the Fed would already cut by 25 basis points. So this, in my opinion, could be a sell the news event due to everybody expecting 25 basis points from beforehand. Anyways, so if that is going to be the case tonight, then I see Bitcoin either consolidating, staying neutral, but definitely having a lot of volatility in the short term, or seeing a little bit of a correction to the downside. I just want Bitcoin to break above 17.5, as that is a very key level for continuation to brand new all-time highs. But if we do get that 25 basis point cuts, I think consolidation or a little bit of a move towards the downside, maybe to the 13.1 area, could be expected. If it is that the rates get cut by 50 basis points, because there's still a 4% chance that it happens, that's where things get exciting. It gets exciting when you look into the total 3 crypto cap charts, which excludes the market cap of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So you're purely focusing in on altcoins, and you're purely focusing in on how altcoin season is going to develop as a concept. When you look at the technicals,
One question.
Yes, please.
Why would we want to exclude Ethereum though?
I want to exclude Ethereum because I just personally believe Ethereum has already started that breakout a little bit. There's always a lag between Ethereum and altcoins. I think Ethereum has already started to see a small breakout, and I just want to categorize altcoins excluding Ethereum to focus on altcoin season, if that makes sense.
I mean, I think you can make that argument, but
Yeah.
I personally would probably always include Ethereum with altcoins, um, because it is an altcoin. It's the biggest altcoin, and it's the most relevant altcoin to gauge the altcoin season. I think because everyone knows that if Ethereum breaks out, that will be good for altcoins. So it's just my personal
I agree.
opinion. I would always add it, but I think it's always very good to check out all charts, because if you find something in this chart that is more meaningful, then of course that always is very relevant to try to find. So it's just that's just based on my own logic, but maybe you've checked this chart and you think this is more relevant, and then let's take a look at that as well.
So actually, no, I completely agree with you. I think what you said is very, very valid. And the chart that I'm showing you now is the total two. So this is inclusive of Ethereum. And when you look at that, the only difference between these two charts is that the total two, so excluding Bitcoin only, that's already broken to the upside of the ascending triangle, but we're right now just above the resistance, whereas on the total three, we're just below the resistance. And this doesn't change so much. When you look at the total two, the fact that we're testing resistance into support obviously is a nice indication that maybe that is the final retest before a continuation. But sadly, with these ascending triangles, you can adjust the resistance line ever so slightly to make it so that total two hasn't actually broken to the upside. But I think the summary that I can draw from both of these two charts is that Q4 is going to be very fruitful. Can we see a little bit of a correction back down on altcoins before October, November? Because potentially Bitcoin can make another high, capital can go from altcoins once more into Bitcoin. But after Bitcoin reaches its all-time high, I think it's going to happen in October. Then starting November, I see the happenings of altcoin season begin in a way where the total two crypto chart, the total three crypto chart for this example, will start to go significantly above resistance of the ascending triangle, a bullish continuation pattern, break above the neckline of this cup and handle, and inverse it in shoulders, which Bitcoin already has done many, many months ago. When you overlay the price of Bitcoin, you can see we had the same inverse it in shoulder cup and handle, which we talked about on this channel. We broke above that back in October of last year. So altcoins are behind, I would argue, by 1 full year. You can make that argument. And I think today's FOMC is super significant because if you do get the 50 basis points, I think we can start breaking above the resistance of the inverse head and shoulder, of the cup and handle, of the ascending triangle, and start going towards 1.6, $1.7 trillion. And that will fulfill the destiny of the Bitcoin and altcoin catch-up trade, which when you overlay the both, you can see that there's always a lag as capital goes into Bitcoin always first, but this lag takes you to about the $1.8 trillion mark. And I just, that could be disappointing for some people. And Carla, I want to ask you a question about that, because in the previous cycle, we had so much liquidity being driven into the markets during COVID. Altcoins went up by 10x, Bitcoin went up by 6x. But this time around, since we won't have the same sort of liquidity, it's not going to be a 10x movement to the upside, but potentially it's 60%. So if that is the case, then do you think altcoins can still produce 10x's, 20x's, 50x's? Or what is the difference going to be between this altcoin season and previous ones?
I think it's going to be the same like always. Like we see a massive season. Right now, altcoins are still quite depressed, like very, I would say. Even, especially the micro caps, many of them are still down more than 90% from their all-time highs. So I think we're going to see another crazy altcoin season where we see altcoins go 20, 30% daily gains, where you see altcoins go 50x, 100x, even 500x, those
Wow.
kind of crazy numbers. That's going to happen. And I think that when we see the interest rates go down, we will see the bull market happen. In global economy, we'll see a continued bull market, and then we'll see altcoins and crypto pump. And then we're going to see a massive recession.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time when they lower interest rates like this, eventually you see the recession come. And I think, yeah, this chart that we're seeing right now, you can clearly see, because every uh, gray area, the gray area is recession, and you can see that the interest rate is the blue line. And whenever they lower the rates, you can see that that always coincides with a recession almost every single time. So it's a beautiful chart, this chart, and it really can predict a recession, and it's going to happen now in the next 1 2 years, I would say, at the very, very latest. So in this bull cycle, it's going to be increasingly important to take profits, buy those Ferraris, buy those watches, buy real estate, put some money in USDT and stake it on maybe Bybit or WEEX or somewhere. But by the way, if you want to sign up to any of those exchanges that we're using, links are down below with bonuses. So when you use our links, you get special bonuses, special gifts. So you can use that. Personally, I'm staking always some USDT on Bybit in the bear market because you get some nice APY on that. And if you use my link, then of course you're gonna get 10% discount on fees and stuff. So you can use that. Um, So yeah, I think now is a great time, actually an excellent time, if not the best time ever, to buy altcoins. And that makes me want to ask you, CryptoKid, because you are, I would say, a little bit more in tune with the altcoin market than I am at this moment. So, which, if you have to choose five altcoins that you want to buy right now and sell, let's say in January, which five altcoins would you then choose? If you can also show the charts, would be
Sure,
great.
sure. I would love to. So look, some of the altcoins that I'm buying, and I completely agree with you, once the interest rates are cut vigorously, that's the beginning of the recession. But I think as soon as they get cut, initially that's the small window you have open for altcoin season. And I think that window is going to last until Q1. Can we see it happen differently this time? You know, that's a big question. You just never know until it happens. But for me, I think Q4 to Q1 is going to be fruitful. Will there be a recession after? Let's see. And like you said, Carl, that's why it's super important to be taking profits. And on my channel, we've made a crypto exit strategy video, which you can check out. But some of the altcoins that I really like include Chainlink. So I think the biggest narrative of this cycle, or one of the biggest narratives, could be RWA. And when you compare Chainlink in 2021, when it was at $50, Chainlink was doing nothing. But when you look at Chainlink in this cycle, it's partnering with the biggest Forex markets in the world. It's partnering with, it was listed in the White House crypto report. It helped Ondo Finance in the beginning of September tokenize over 100 stocks by being the oracle that takes off-chain data, like let's say traditional stock prices, puts it on a smart contract, uploads it to a layer one, and allows things like tokenization. So there's massive real world value that Chainlink introduces, and that is the fundamental reason why I think it's a very interesting pick. They have a Chainlink treasury and all the good stuff. But when you look into the technicals, I think that's where it gets even better, because you have a huge bullish pennant that is forming on the weekly time frame. The more macro you go, the patterns mean more. And very soon, when Chainlink is able to break above this resistance of the bullish pennant, which will coincide with the total 2, total 3 crypto breakouts, that is when I expect Chainlink to go above where it was in the previous all-time high, which was $50, and potentially into the $70 to $80 range, which would hopefully yield about 200% on Chainlink. So I really like Chainlink. Another coin that I like is BNB. BNB was a project that we spoke on my channel when this breakout was happening. And as it was happening, I mentioned that, look, we're breaking out of a huge inverse head and shoulder multi-cycle pattern, and the target is 1,250. I made a video on the retest, and that's basically where BNB is heading towards beautifully now. And we still have another 31% left until BNB reaches that target. A few more altcoins I really like Solana. Solana is the commercial blockchain. Everybody in the retail space that has interacted with blockchain and crypto, probably the first crypto that they notice, apart from Ethereum, is most likely going to be Solana from a layer one perspective. Another massive multi-cycle pattern, huge cup and handle. I expect $500 for Solana. And the final altcoin that I'll mention, or final two, is one of them is Dogecoin. Dogecoin is showing a textbook repeat of what happened in not just in the previous cycle, but what happened a year ago when we had a mini altcoin season when Bitcoin dominance went to 55%. You can see there was a huge descending trend line. Dogecoin broke above it September of 2024, retested it, and then when President Trump got elected, you saw Dogecoin go to 50 cents. That wasn't in the previous cycle. That was in this cycle. So fast forward 1 year, you have a very similar setup, huge descending trend line. You broke above it, you retested, and now I think with that breakout, we can start seeing Dogecoin move towards the $1 area, and that's another altcoin that I'm looking at. And finally, we can't forget Ethereum. I think Ethereum is going to follow the Bitcoin correlation. When we look at ETH USD charts and go to Bitstamp, and we overlay the price of Bitcoin, you can see that Bitcoin has been rallying massively already for the past 2.5 years. But when you overlay it with Ethereum, you can see that Ethereum is clearly lagging behind. So on the auto scale, you will see that these charts are very much correlated. The only difference is that Bitcoin always rallies first and then Ethereum follows. And the same thing will happen in this cycle, in my opinion. And that catch-up trade can take us to $7.5 to $8,000. So Carl, those are the coins that I'm super bullish on, and those are my expectations for altcoin season. Do I still have you, Carl? Hopefully I do. Yes, I do.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So basically, the FOMC meeting today is going to be very, very important to
Yes, it is.
watch
Yeah,
and take a look at. That's why I think everyone who's watching now, make sure you watch the live stream that CryptoKid will be doing on this channel a little bit later.
correct.
You can actually click the little card popping up here. That should be a way to go there and press the notification. And actually, even more important, you can right now click. Let's see if I can point correctly. I would say
On my face.
there.
Okay, right on my face, right here.
Yeah, there. This end screen will take you to the live stream schedulation, and then you can actually press the notification bell there to get notified when the stream is happening. Thank you so much, Crypto Kid. See you over in the FOMC live stream.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.